Thoughtful character designs aren't easy to make. Meticulously crafted characters communicate volumes just by design alone, and I wanted to take a look at just what makes the character designs in Recreators so great. Recreators is a show that understands its intended audience and leverages the audience's knowledge of various shows to create brilliant character designs. This is not a show that should be someone's first anime. In fact, I'm comfortable saying that it relies so heavily on various tropes of the genre that this is a show for someone with more than a few anime under their belt. The premise of Recreators involves various fictional characters coming to the real world, engaging in fierce battles, and trying to return to their respective homes before the real world collapses. Since every character is from some form of game or anime, it makes sense that all their designs are meant to be very typical to a certain genre. Hiroe of Black Lagoon fame not only designed the characters, but also wrote the show alongside director Ei Aoki, who previously directed Fate Zero. It's more than clear that these two thought thoroughly about what elements they wanted to play on with these designs. Kanoya, in particular, has a simple design that is simultaneously reminiscent of Mazinger's Koji Kabuto and Evangelion's Shinji Ikari, with Gigas Machina also being a clear reference to Great Mazinger. Likewise, Mamika is meant to be in the vein of Madoka Magica and Pretty Cure. With just those few clues, we can already interpret a fair amount about how these characters might act. Since these are fictional characters being designed with intentionally tropey appearances, their design references speak to the arcs of the characters. Shinji Ikari's character revolves around being rejected and he sense of positive self-affirmation and learning to love himself despite rejection, but Koji Kabuto is a prototypical mecha hero and foreshadows who Kanoya will become. Kanoya is not burdened by anxiety in the real world because the real world recognizes him as a hero. The real world positively reinforces his sense of self, leaving no need for the angst of someone who would otherwise spend their time pining for meaning. With mental and emotional stability, Kanoya becomes better suited to be a hero that bravely flies into combat of their own free will, instead of someone constantly avoiding conflict. Mamika, on the other hand, is very Pretty Cure in both her costume design and powers, but is very Madoka Magica in how her interactions with others both tear down and rebuild her worldview. Much like Madoka Kaname, Mamika has an arc of realizing that the world doesn't work based on her simplistic worldview, and that conflict is sometimes inevitable. Attempts to stop others from fighting makes current conflicts worse, and making bold decisions without having enough information ends up being what gets Mamika killed. Her powers are destructive explosions of friendship magic such as in Pretty Cure, but carries more weight since these powers are now taken to a violent extreme. Megane Chokujoin's design comes to mind as particularly interesting due to just how much misdirection it employs. Due to the nature of every other character in the show, it would be easy to assume that the majority of fictional entities in this world are big powerhouses there to deliver giant fights. Therefore, someone in a schoolgirl uniform, sporting magic circles on her gloves just feels like a reference to Full Metal Alchemist. She even snaps her fingers to further redden the herring. However, her mannerisms run counter to every other character, preferring talking and manipulation over outright fighting. Her confusing speeches and over-the-top mannerisms are more reminiscent of a Monogatari character, or at the very least that one girl from Danganronpa. I personally see some Izaya Orihara in there, but that could just be me. As stated previously, director Ei Aoki also worked on Fate Zero, and if any two characters show that influence more, then it would have to be Alisteria and Altair. Alisteria looks exactly like Saber, and I feel as though that already says enough about her character. She has a particularly noble sense of justice that is called into question by the various characters she comes into contact with. There's also her gauntlet, which shares its name with a knight that laid inspiration for Guts from Berserk. The setting she comes from is also reminiscent of a dark, oppressive Berserk-like setting. Altair, or Military Uniform Princess, displays powers that appear to behave like Gate of Babylon, but that's where the Fate parallels end. Her design is in reference to Hatsune Miku, a character that can be transplanted into just about anything and it makes sense. Vocaloids doesn't have a set canon, so that set of characters can be used in just about any context without breaking suspension of disbelief. Just like a Vocaloid character, Altair has no canon. She's a popular design by an independent artist, and that ends up being her greatest strength. In contrast, one of the two main characters looks exactly like Asana from Sword Art Online. And it's not subtle, but it's very smart. Given what you're likely to already know about Asana, Celestia looking like her already gives you an idea of what she was in her show, the love interest. She's a love interest secondary character that has no main character to rely on, and must then become the hero herself, which she is more than qualified to do. And finally, there's Meteora, and do I really have to say it? It's Rei Ayanami. It's Final Fantasy NPC librarian Rei Ayanami, and she's great. Having said all that, I think this show displays some insanely strong character designs, and that Rie Hiroe really brought his A game. There's a strong, consistent logical through line shown in each character's design, and how it ties into their overall place in the narrative. These designs effectively deepen our understanding of these characters in context of their own worlds, their character arcs, and the tropes they're all playing off of. It's just one of many aspects that makes Recreators a worthwhile watch, and if anything said here got you curious, I highly encourage checking it out.